Hey guys, welcome back. It's Sean again, and today I'm going to be introducing you to my property manager, Joshua Paz.
Hey guys.
So in this video, I'm going to be asking him a couple questions, basically what his day-to-day looks like, and then also kind of what the value he brings to the table whenever it comes to my day in and day out Airbnb business. But we'll try to make it super easy and digestible for you guys. We broke it down into 3 parts. And so I'm going to be asking him about his customer service side of his business, and then maintenance of the property, and then maintaining everything in the business. And lastly, what does it take on the admin side for him to get everything successfully rocking and rolling? And also keep in mind, he does set up properties as well. That's not part of what we're talking about today. But in front of that, you also have property managers that help you start your listing from scratch. Like, hey, this is a property, what do I do? And then he also has added service that allows him to go in there and like design the house, order the furniture, tell exactly about like setting up photographers, all that fun stuff. But we're not gonna be talking about that specifically today. We're just gonna be talking about the things that are on the day-to-day tasks. So without further ado, let's get into it. Mr. Josh, what does it take on a day-to-day basis for you to kind of handle the customers? And yeah, if you could speak on that for a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So as far as like volume of how much of like which tasks are taking up a majority of my time, it would primarily be answering guest questions. So, they'll usually ask like, oh, how far is it from this arena that I'm going to see a concert at? Or how, just general ideas about the location, what sort of amenities are available at the property. And so for the most part, that's a majority of what I'm doing throughout my day as far as the customer service side of things is. But something else that I have to handle within that general scope of work is screening guests. And so something that you want to avoid whenever you're a property manager is allowing guests who are going to potentially cause problems or damage to the property. And so the way that we do that, either as property managers or if you're an owner of the property and you're managing it yourself, is just simply asking them questions. Like how many people are they planning on having there? Do they plan on having a party? Is there going to be music? What time are they planning on bringing everything inside? And then you just communicate with them what are the usual sticking points with the house rules. So for example, something that we generally deal with is some people having confusion with the how exactly the extra guest fee is charged. And so I go in and explain everything about that, and then that usually weeds out any sort of problem guests that we'll potentially have. And then from there, the other thing that I would say, I don't really deal with it very often, but when I do, it definitely does show my value, is if there's any sort of issues with, say for example, a guest gets locked out or there's some sort of emergency with the plumbing, for example, rather than having the owner, such as Sean, drive out to the property, handle it, say at like 8 at night, I would go out there and handle that issue, call a plumber or do whatever I need to do in order to make the guest experience 100%. And so that sort of thing doesn't happen very often, but you're happy when you do have a property manager and those sorts of issues do arise.
That's true. Quickly, fun story about that is there's many stories, but one that just comes to mind is I was visiting a friend over in Austin. I'm currently living in Dallas, and I was on 6th Street and we were having a good time drinking, just having a good old bash. And I remember being a couple drinks in, and then Airbnb, there's all sorts of stuff about these people that are locked out of the house since like 12, 1 a.m., something like that. And I was like, I can't do anything about this. I really hope Josh answers his phone because I have no idea how I'm going to solve this thing. I might have these people stuck outside of this house because the lock wasn't working. And thank goodness he answered his phone that late and that night because he always picks up his phone. This is part of the job as a property manager. And he drove from Arlington all the way to Dallas to like sneak into a window just to crawl through just to get the door unlocked because he has like this secret way of opening up the house.
Lisa, what are you doing? Don't go.
And second, we're going to go over the maintenance of the property. Now, this is definitely overlooked for a lot of new-time investors, but there is a lot of maintenance on the property, constantly keeping up with it, making sure it's in tip-top shape, because the way you bought it and the way you set it up on the first day on Airbnb and you listed it and you marketed it, that is not how it's going to stay. You have 2 guests, 3 guests stay there, and now it's just totally different. And so to keep it the exact pristine shape is takes a lot of effort. And so if you don't mind, can you go over kind of what you do on a maintenance level to make my life seamless?
Yeah. So I'm going to go through like the easy tasks that I do, very regularly, and then all the way down to some of the more complex issues that I've dealt with. So the first thing is consumable items. So a lot of guests will, we'll provide them with dry goods, breakfast items, different like shampoos and stuff. And so, as part of the maintenance of the property, keep in mind, it's not just like a regular rental where you're just worrying about, major issues like lawn care or anything like that. You have to make sure that all the amenities are provided for the guests each and every time. And so I'm constantly keeping track of the inventory. If things get too low, I go out, buy that stuff, restock everything. So there's small things like that. But then beyond that, I also have to coordinate cleaning services, make sure that it's on time, perfect each time. And if there are any sorts of issues or little things that I see that they missed, I'll make sure to send over a list of the items that they need to make sure to keep track of during the next cleaning services. So part of it's also coordinating those cleaning services and making sure they're on top of their A game. And then from there, we get into some more complex issues. So sometimes you'll have an issue where, for example, say there's an issue with the patio and there's some sort of liability issues. I'll have to go in, make sure that, for example, one time we did have an issue with the patio, and so I had to do an emergency patch just to make sure that that we wouldn't have any issues with liability, so that at least it was fine. And then from there, I would go out and find a contractor to do the job properly and make sure that it looked good as well as it was functional. So there's sorts of issues like that I have to deal with as well. And depending on how comfortable and how the relationship I have with the homeowner, for example with Sean, I'm more than willing to also do major things. So for example, we had to replace a sewer line recently at one of his properties, and so I went out, got quotes from 3 different plumbers, and I was actually able to find a quote that was half off of what the other plumbers were saying. So 2 of the first bids that we got were for about $10,000 to $11,000, and then the bid that I eventually got for the third plumber was for $4,700. And so I was able to cut his price in half by just taking the time to find plumbers and meeting with them. And that's the sort of thing that normally for Sean, these plumbers will meet in the middle of the day. And so for Sean to take the time out of his busy schedule to meet with 3 different plumbers to get quotes, that's something that would be very difficult for him to manage. Whereas me, this is my full-time thing, and so I take the time to find how to cut costs by managing which contractors to get. And so, as far as the maintenance side, that's typically what my scope of work is.
So I want to try to quickly go over that. In that specific situation, that's just one of many. We're going to go over in the admin side another cool story. But if you just think about, say for instance, we'll go over the price in the very end, how much he costs. But however much you're paying per month for your property manager, you might be thinking, I'm throwing that money away. But 1, you're saving yourself a whole lot of headache and a lot of time and a lot of energy. And then 2, if they really do their good job or they do their job well, then they'll do more than make up for the cost that you pay per year in 1 or 2 situations. Say for instance, he just saved me like $5,000, and then if you're paying him like $500 a month per property, then that covers 10 months. That covers almost an entire year off of just one situation that I wouldn't have had time to be able to save that money. So don't think of the property manager as necessarily a way for you to lose money on your investment. Think of it as a way for you to save time, energy, and also money.
Yeah, and to that point, something else that I do is that if I think that I can do a job for less than what it would cost a contractor to do, I'll make sure to explore that option before I go ahead and call somebody or replace something. So for example, just now we had an issue with the gate not being able to close properly at one of the properties, and so I mean it's a very simple task. It's something that it's easy enough for me to figure out. And so I took care of that for him. I know for a fact if I were to call a general contractor out, they charge an arm and a leg for any sort of work, and so they would maybe charge $100, $200 for something as simple as just readjusting a latch and making certain cuts in the wood. And so I was able to take care of that for him. No extra charge. It's just something that I saw that was a problem, something easy to take care of, and I knew that I could save him quite a bit of money by just taking care of it myself. So if there is a cheaper option, I'll make sure to explore that. I'm not saying that all property managers are willing to do that, but that's something that I'm able to do.
Thanks for doing that, buddy.
No problem.
Okay, lastly, we're going to talk about the admin side of it, and this is my favorite thing because I hate admin. And then to be able to have him cover the admin side and make substantial amount of money, which he's about to talk about in this one particular case, and which we'll make a later video about. It just makes me so warm inside that I don't have to deal with this, because it is a headache. And so if you don't mind kind of talking about the admin side of it and the Airbnb resolution side of it, and what that means, what it entails, and also some kind of wins that you've kind of gone through in that as well.
Yeah. So whenever it comes to Sean's properties, I handle the entirety of the back end. So if there's some sort of information, like I know that, for example, there's going to be a convention in town or something like that, I'll adjust the pricing if that's necessary. And so that's something on the admin side that I manage. But the biggest thing that's time consuming on the admin side is the Airbnb resolution stuff. And so, for example, if a guest damages a property or say takes towels or causes any sort of issues like that we require some sort of reimbursement for, I handle the entirety of the claims process. So I'll submit all the evidence, I'll send messages to the guest, try and work with them to have them pay out without involving Airbnb. If it's necessary, involve Airbnb. And that's a very time-consuming process. You have to make sure your documentation is entirely organized and well done in order to ensure that you're going to get paid out. So for the situation that Sean was talking about, we were very fortunate to have all of the documentation in such a way that it was a pretty open and shut case. So guests that we had, we accepted them, we screened them. Sometimes the screening doesn't always work, and this was one of the cases where unfortunately they basically lied with all the questions that we asked. And so, they didn't want to pay any of the extra guest fees. They said that they weren't going to throw a party, even though we knew for a fact that they were going to throw a party. They eventually did that. They caused some damage to the property. We made sure to take pictures of everything. We have a DVR camera system, and so all of the information is uploaded to an app that he has that connects to the DVR. So he had all of the footage on his phone. And so we were able to submit, photos of, the guests moving furniture in such a way that it scratched up and damaged the floors. We were able to show that, there were, I believe the head count was like 64 people total. So they had a giant party at that property, or at our property, and then also that the guests were, that the police were called, and they showed up to the property, and we were able to document all of that through the DVR camera system that we have. And so we sent that all to Airbnb. They because the claim was so large, because of the amount of damage that they caused, we had to get proper invoices from reputable contractors that had letterhead and everything. Made sure that all the paperwork was proper as Airbnb wanted it. I made sure that I met with different contractors. I met with they actually sent an insurance adjuster, because they wanted to make sure everything was on the up and up. And so after everything was said and done, this was like a 2-month process. And keep in mind, this is very tedious work. I'm having to sit on hold with different customer service reps from Airbnb. And this was over the course of 2 months but fortunately, with all that hard work, we were able to get paid out, I believe, a little over $14,000 for all of the damages. And that was, paid directly to Sean. And so that basically, paid for all of the damages. And in fact, I think we actually made a little bit off on the end of it.
This is where we're going to cut right now to the YouTube video that they made at my property, 5 Stacks Counterfeit. Enjoy.
Hershey bitches want cash, where your racks at? I'm in the trap selling pounds, where the packs at? Vinci flops, black tee, just to match that. T-Town's healing, and we in a loft.
Thug life.
Yeah, and so with that situation, we were able to take care of everything, make sure that Sean was compensated for all the damages, and that's the biggest thing that I handle on the admin side, is just making sure that any sort of resolutions or damage to your property, it's all taken care of properly.
Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for your time. And then if people can find you, reach out to you, the best way to do it is comment below. He's going to be, he also has access to my YouTube stuff. He posts my YouTube videos. He's also my personal assistant as well. And so he'll see all the comments below. So if you guys are interested in trying to get a property manager for your own property, or you're looking to get into this and you just got to have a general idea of what it's going to cost, that way you can balance out your spreadsheets before you jump into it, then comment below. He'll respond to the comments from his own personal YouTube account. Anything else you want to throw out before we do the whole like, subscribe, share stuff?
Yeah, so all I wanted to say is that, whenever it comes to making the decision of whether or not you want to hire a property manager, I would say think of what Sean said in the beginning. There is if you want to make an Airbnb investment completely, mailbox, what's the term again?
Mailbox money.
Mailbox money. You definitely need a property manager. Not saying that the work is difficult, but you definitely need somebody who is able to take care of all of the tedious day-to-day stuff in order to make it mailbox money.
There you go.
Yeah.
What a sales pitch. If you're not sold, I'm sold, obviously. Yeah, pay for it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And then make sure to like, subscribe, share. Do we have a share thing? No, I don't think we have a share thing. But make sure to share, and then find me up on Instagram too if you guys have Instagram. And then we're gonna cover up his face with a box. We're gonna do a box right here. This is gonna be what YouTube recommends for you to watch next. And this box right here is going to be a playlist. It's probably the Airbnb investing playlist. All right, guys, thank you so much. The next video, we're going to be going over that 5 stacks counterfeit story. We're going to break down all the details because it's fun. And it's fun now because we got paid out on it, but at the time, it was not fun at all. All right, guys, peace. Have a good day.